Got a few things that I wanna say. I say yes, you say no way. Living most of disagreeable. You love me night, I love you now. I love the sun, you love the moon. Living most of disagreeable.
Hello, and welcome to As It Is Written. My name is Yaakov Ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the Culture Center of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel. We're located at 3901A Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia. You know, when you look upon the earth today, there are wars going on every place, and it seems like all the nations just can't seem to bring peace upon the earth. But that's because they're trying to bring peace upon the earth the wrong way. They're trying to bring peace upon the earth through religion, and war is nothing but politics. That's all it is. One person trying to tell another one what they can and what they cannot do, what they like and what they don't like. But no one wants to deal with what this so-called renamed Hebrew Israelite over here in America. No one care about what we have on our minds, but it's a reason for that. Whether you know it or not, once Lucifer gets thrown out of heaven, you can read this in the book of Revelation chapter 12, and then go read Isaiah chapter 14. Once Lucifer gets thrown out of heaven, according to the book of Revelation, he's coming to make war with the people who produced the man-child that was going to rule all nations, who is the Messiah. His name is Yeshua, not this Jesus Christ y'all talking about, but the brother that was named Yeshua, that was born in Bethlehem of Judea. As far as this Jesus is concerned, that's some stuff that these white folks came up with, and we've been dealing with it simply because we don't do the research. And this has been our downfall, especially in the last 40 years since the civil rights movement. I should say, yeah, it's 40 years. We don't do the correct research in order to find out a lot of things that's going up upon the earth. But the Messiah told us to watch for certain things. And the thing of it is people just aren't watching. And the reason why they aren't watching, because we go to church and throw money at the preacher, thinking that we're gonna buy our way into the kingdom that's being set up, but it won't be so. You're gonna have to earn this one, like Messiah said. In that day, many gonna say, Adonai, didn't we cast out demons in your name? Didn't we do all these great works in your name? And I'm gonna say, get away from me, you work of iniquity. I never knew you. Not that I knew you but at one time, but I never knew you. Let me read something to you out of St. Luke that the Messiah had to say pertaining to our people. This is St. Luke chapter 21, and I'm going to start this at verse 17. It says, verse 16, it says, and you shall be betrayed both by parents and by brothers and by kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. You notice don't nobody live in our neighborhoods except who have to live in our neighborhoods. What we do is we move in everybody else's neighborhood. We don't care nothing about our own neighborhood. We move in other people's neighborhood, and our neighborhood ran down. Now we don't have an economic base in our neighborhood, a viable economic base. But as we begin to see, all the other nations are setting up things in their neighborhoods so that they can deal among their own people. But we like sharecropping. We like going to the Gentiles and getting paid and then going back and spending our money with them, and they love it so. But let me finish this up here. It says, But there shall not a hair of your head perish. In your patience possess you your souls. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed about with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. But yet and still, we have brothers taking pride in going back over to the land of Israel, talking, I'm going to see my land, but when they go over there, they can't see no more than the Israelis allowed them to see. Me, myself, I don't want to go home until I can claim something and say, this land is mine. Then I have a heritage to give to my children. A heritage, too, that nobody can take from me. Verse 22, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. All the prophets, everything that the prophets had to say would be fulfilled once the Mashiach returns back to this earth. But see, when we go to church, we don't read the prophets. You know why? If your preachers go back in there and start reading those prophets, they'll find out one thing. Something is wrong with the doctrine that they're teaching. The prophets is saying something altogether different than what we are hearing in church today. As a matter of fact, according to the Bible, what they call Saturday is the Sabbath day. It starts Friday at sunset and it ends on the 6th day, Saturday at sunset. But the Europeans set it up for Sunday, and we don't even go check, and we'll say, well, it don't make no difference. Every day is a Sabbath. Well, why didn't Yahweh bless and sanctify every day? The only thing he blessed, the first thing that he blessed and sanctified was the Sabbath day. And he told our people, the Sabbath is a sign between me and you. And that's the first thing them Gentiles changed, was the Sabbath day. Verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon his people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be carried away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Euro-Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, according to what I read and what the Messiah had to say, and according to what the prophets had to say, the Jews are in captivity. And the Jews will be in captivity in lands that their fathers did not know of until the Messiah returns. Now that's according to what the Bible has to say. Now I know your preacher tell you that Christ can come any day, but he can't. Christ cannot come until Yahweh pour his wrath of Revelations 8 and Revelation 16 upon the earth. Verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress and of nations with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Well, let's look at that. Look at the weather patterns that we are beginning to receive. And scientists are telling everybody that global warming have this earth in bad shape, but it's their fault. It's all about greed. Everything is about money. Don't you know that I know that they can produce cars that didn't have to use fossil fuel? They have the technology, but the thing of it is this. We have some people in the White House, and the only thing that they are interested in is big companies making more money. This is why the corporate structure really is against the middle class, and they're trying to phase the middle class out, so you'll have only rich and only poor. Well, if you got to have something before you get something, then how you get your first is still a mystery to me. Verse 27, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption is now. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, you see and know of your own self that summer is nigh at hand. So likewise you, when you see these things come to pass, know that the kingdom of Elohim is near at hand. The phone number here is 44873-1272. 1349. 404-873-1349. And the way I do things, if I talk about things that you don't want to talk about, then what you do is you call in and we can talk about something that you want to talk about. Just call in with something that makes some sense. Don't call in here with that grapevine stuff, because that grapevine stuff is what got us in trouble now. But you know, it's many people saying that, well, hey, you know, the Messiah came to save the world. That's what John said. But the Messiah himself said he was not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You have to understand what was going on in the scripture. Yahweh made covenants with our people. And the Mashiach was a part of those covenants that was made, that we would have a sacrifice that would be sent, because it was impossible for the blood of animals to cover sin. But this was given our fathers as a grace when they was in the wilderness until the Messiah was come. This is why Paul said that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Euro-Gentile be come in. Well, what will be the fullness of the Euro-Gentiles? Let me go back in the book of Revelations and read some things to you about Revelation. Now, you know that Paul said in Thessalonians, Paul warned about the man of sin that was going to be revealed, and people aren't noticing that there is going to be, the way that things is being set up, that the Europeans is getting ready to set up a thing wherein people are going to worship a man according to the scripture here. Now, this is in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 1. Saul said, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of the Adonai Yeshua HaMashiach, and by gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind, nor be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, that the day of the Mashiach is at hand. Don't let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there be a falling away first. A falling away from what? The truth. Churches is growing in leaps and bounds. They springing up them big whorehouses on every corner, seem like. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worship. So he, as God, sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember you not that when I was with you, I told you these things? And now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. So Paul even talked about a man of sin being revealed here on this earth, that that's going to exalt himself above all that is called God. Now, let me back this up here in the book of Revelations, Revelations chapter 13. This has to do with political Babylon that they're putting together over in Europe now. It's called the EU, the New World Order that we were warned about. And this is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1. John said, and I stood upon the sands of the sea, and I saw a beast, which is an empire, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horn 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. Now, if you get back in the book of Daniel 7, and start reading at Daniel 7, Daniel tell you who the 7 heads are, and who the 10 horns are, and who the 10 crowns. And Daniel told you that these were kings that was going to come up. The 7 heads were the 7 people that ruled the Holy Roman Empire. It has been the 7 rulers that ruled the earth since 606 BC, and it was all called the Babylonian Empire. And Rome fell in 476 AD. That's when one of those heads was wounded. And as we see, they're putting that back together just like John the Revelator said. But let me go ahead and read this. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Now, that's referring to Alexander the Great. It's referring to the time that he conquered the earth. He conquered the earth quicker than anybody else. It was only 12 years. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Well, we know that was the Medo-Persian Empire with the Russians. And his mouth, the mouth of a lion. This was Nebuchadnezzar, who was the head of gold on the statue in Daniel 2. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and the deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Rome fell in 476 AD, and they received the deadly wound. Now, here it is. They're putting it together. Now they're calling it the EU, and they already have their currency on the market. It's called the euro. You might want to check it in your newspaper on your money mark as far as how it matches up against the dollar. I think we got a call on the line. Go ahead, caller. You on the air?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, my brother.
Yeah, I was watching your program, and I was noticing that you're reading out of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering, why is it that on Sunday mornings when I watch TV, I never hear the preachers preaching or talking about the book of Revelation? There are religious shows. None of the preachers talk about this same book that you're reading out of. And I was wondering if you had an answer with that, and I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for calling in there, my brother. The reason why they don't read out of the book of Revelation because they're afraid of the book of Revelation. Revelate means to reveal. And they don't want to go back in the prophets and do all the research it's going to take to put this beast together. Brother, it took me 10 whole years to put the book of Revelation together. 10 whole years of research. And but once it came together, what it did was showed how truthful the holy prophets that came from our people were, how they put this whole thing together back in the Old Testament. But it came the way it was given. This prophet has a little, that prophet has a little, and that prophet has a little. But Scripture can't be broken. And this is why you're able to go back into the book of Daniel and into the prophets and put the book of Revelations together. People say it's scary. It's not scary. Revelate means to reveal. That's what it means, to reveal. Well, they don't know about the book of Revelation because they don't know the symbolism that's written in Revelation. And in Revelation bust up their stuff. The book of Revelation bust up their stuff. I'll give you a good example of what I'm talking about. I'm going into Revelation 7 now. Right now we're in the fifth seal. It's another seal going to be open. The 7 seals. 5 has already been opened. We're in the 5th seal now. The 6th seal is when Lucifer this is Revelation 6 and verse 12. That's when Lucifer gets thrown out of heaven. Now, if you read that and then go into Revelations 12 and read Revelations 12, you'll find out that when Lucifer gets thrown out of heaven, he's going to make war with one nation of people. And that nation of people is the Hebrew Israelites that produced the Messiah. And truly, in the Old Testament, all of the Jews was black. But see, since them Christians been in power, they were the ones that set up the people, them impostors over there in Israel now as the Jews. But according to the Old Testament, all the Jews were black, and the Jews are in captivity in a land that their fathers did not know of. Well, America hadn't been discovered by these Euro-Gentiles during the time that our fathers was in the land. America was the last place set up, and Yahweh put us over here in America because away from that Eurasian continent over there, simply because America is going to be the first one to be destroyed. The first country that's going to be destroyed is America, and then this is the country that's really in the way of the Pope setting himself up as God and a man up as the returned Messiah. You see, but once this Protestant or this Protestant stronghold gets destroyed by Russia, then Europe is go ahead and put that Holy Roman Empire together, and wherever our people are on the earth, we got 9 tribes that scattered all over Europe and Asia, and we're going to have the worst problem we ever had in our life. This is why the Messiah said it's going to come a time when whosoever killed you would think he did God a favor. We are the only people on the earth that don't have large companies on the stock market that our people can benefit from. But let me read the reason, one of the reasons to you why people don't want to deal with the book of Revelations here, because Revelations tell you who God's servants are. See, we got people from all nations, churches set up everywhere, and everybody talking about their God's servants, right? Well, let's see what John the Revelator had to say. I'm inclined to believe what the book had to say more than I'm inclined to believe what I see with my eyes in the street, because I believe half of what I see and some or none of what I hear. You know why? What people are talking about and what people are doing is not written down in this book, y'all. Let me read something to you in Revelation chapter 7. This is just before Lucifer gets thrown out of heaven. This is Revelation 7 in verse 1. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth. He's talking about the four kingdoms now. That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their forehead. Don't you hurt anything, y'all, until we have sealed God's servants in their forehead. Now, everybody talk about they serving God, and they got whorehouses spread all over the land, right? Well, let's see who God's servants are according to the Bible. You have to understand, the new covenant that Christ came and verified, it was sealed, that he sealed in his blood. That covenant was made with the same people that the old covenant was made with, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And even when our people was in the wilderness at the covenant of salt at Mount Sinai, there was a provision made in the law for the strangers that sojourned with us. Okay, let me now remember, it said, don't hurt anything till we have sealed the servants of our God in their forehead. Verse 4, Revelations 7 and verse 4. And I heard the number of them were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. That's who Yahweh's servants is. And to show you that, people talking about, well, we're going to be with the Messiah wherever he goes. Well, let's see again. It's Revelation 14. John said, I looked, and behold, the Lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his Father's name written in their forehead. These are the ones that follow the Lamb whithersoever he goes. I mean, you can't beat that. See, but with the things that this is another reason why the people don't go in the book of Revelation. Now, let me read something to you after the 1,000 years that Christ reigns on this earth here. This is Revelation chapter, if I can find it. Good grief, where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm going into Revelations 21. Now, after the Messiah had reigned 1,000 years, we're going to pick it up. This earth is going to become the judgment, great white throne judgment set up, and the people that wasn't written in the book of life, all of them was raised up and thrown in the lake of fire and everything and so forth, what y'all call hell. Hell is really the grave. Everybody that didn't make it was thrown in the lake of fire. Now let me read something to you here that took place after the Messiah, after that 1,000-year reign on this earth. This is Revelations 21 and verse 9. It says, and there came unto me one of the seven angels which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, come here, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. Now, the church say they're the Lamb's wife, right? Now, what John says here in Revelation, come here, I'm going to show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. Revelations 21 and verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. And her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. So if the new city Jerusalem only had 12 gates, and at each gate had one of the names of the children of Israel on it, where's everybody else's gate? Like Paul said, like the Messiah said, salvation is of the Jews. Like Paul said, and so it is written, all Israel shall be saved. There shall come a deliverer out of Zion that shall turn ungodliness away from Jacob, because this is my covenant with them when I take away their sin. And Paul also said in Romans 15 that Christ was to minister to the Jews to confirm the promises made to our fathers. So we have to consider these things. I think we got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you on there.
I want you to explain what you said a moment ago about hell being in the grave. And I'm going to hang up and allow you to answer.
Remember when David said, for you shall not leave my soul in hell, neither shall you suffer your Holy One to see corruption? Huh? Well, David was talking about the grave. David didn't go ain't no place on the ground where they got no little red man with a red suit on with a pitchfork. That's the lie that we got from them Christians. What you do, my sister, is let me read something to you. And let me read something to you out of the book of Revelation. If you got your book, pick this up, and we're going to pick this up at Revelation chapter 20 and verse 11. I like for the book to do my talking for me, because, you know, a man can make his mouth say anything. But, you know, people that have a tendency to read, to believe what's written in this book, if they can understand it. And the reason why they don't understand it is because your preacher never get in Revelation, want to deal with Revelation. But let me read something to you that's going to happen. I'm going to pick this up in Revelation chapter 20 and verse 7. This is after the Messiah. I'll pick it up at verse 5. Revelation 20 and verse 5, it said, but the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power. But they shall be priests with Elohim and the Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Lucifer shall be let out of his prison, and shall go to deceive the nations in the four quarters of the earth, Gog the prince, and Magog, which is Russia, and gather them together to battle, the number is whom is as the sands of the sea. They went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from Elohim out of heaven, and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever. Where? In the lake of fire. Okay. Verse 11, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was no place found for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Elohim, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which are written in the book, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to his work. And death and hell was cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Now remember, it said death, there be no more dying, and the grave, which is hell, was cast into the lake of fire. You see, but we've been told that hell is a place under the ground where when you bad, that's where you go. If you good, you going to hell. Christ himself went to hell. They put him in that grave, didn't he? Well, he was in hell. You see, he didn't go down there underneath the ground and preach to the dead. When you're dead, you're done. Let the good times roll. You don't get no second chance. No second chance with that. If you don't make it, you done. You can forget that. You can forget that. Let me read something to you about the resurrection of the dead. Anyways, my sister, I hope I took care of your problem there. If I didn't, give me a call back and we'll chat a little bit more about that. It talked about the resurrection of the dead. Let's read something that the prophet had to say. See, this is what I like to do. I like to read what the prophet had to say, and then you make up your own mind about it. Okay, if you believe it, you believe it. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. Then you might as well take the rest of the book and y'all don't believe what's written in the Old Testament no ways, because your preacher done told y'all Christ nailed all of that to the cross, and that's where all the future prophecies of what's going to be set up on the earth is in the Old Testament. The prophet, each one of the prophets had something. That's why folks don't know what's going on in the church. That's why everybody walk around talking about they going to heaven. Well, let me show you where Yahweh said he's going to bring, the Messiah said he's going to bring the children of Israel when he raise them up out of the dead. I'm going into Ezekiel 37 chapter. It's called the Valley of Dry Bones. I'm going to read. I know y'all heard some of these hacking Baptist preachers talk about it, and everybody jumping up and shouting, and when he got through, he ain't even touched on what the book talking about. This is Ezekiel 37 and verse 1. The hand was Yahweh was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and behold, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered and said, O Adonai Elohim, you know. Again he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Now remember, Christ said there's going to come a time when even the dead is going to hear the voice of the Son of Man, and is going to come forth to everlasting life. Okay? Remember that. Verse 5. Thus said the Adonai Elohim unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter you, and you shall live. And I will lay muscles upon you, and will bring flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. So I, as he commanded me, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, look, the muscles and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them from above, but there was no breath in them. Same thing happened to Adam when he was created, remember? He was laying on the ground, he was a dead soul, and then Yahweh breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. He didn't breathe no spirit in him. He breathed the breath of life in him, and when you cut off that breath, you're going to die. You're going to believe that. Verse 8. Verse 9. Then he said unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say unto the wind, Thus saith the Adonai Elohim, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried, our hope is lost, we are cut off from our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Adonai Elohim, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come out of your graves, and bring you back to the land of Israel. But everybody out here talking about they're going to be flying off to Never land. Remember, Paul said in the 2nd chapter of Romans, glory and honor is to the Jew first. Zechariah 8 chapter tell you that when the Messiah sets up his kingdom, that the nation's going to grab onto the coattail of a Jew saying, we will go with you because we've heard that God is with you. Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Adonai Elohim, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you to the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live. And I will place you in your own land. Then shall you know that Yahweh has spoken it and performed it, said Yahweh. So we can very well, if you go on and finish reading that chapter, what he's talking about is taking the two sticks, which are, he broke up the house of Israel and the house of Judah. He's going to take those two sticks. It's the same chapter, Ezekiel 37. He's going to break up those two sticks and bring them back together, and they're going to become one nation in his hand. As a matter of fact, I think I read that this is Ezekiel 37, and I'm going to start this at verse 15. It said, the word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, moreover, you son of man, take you one stick and write up on it for Judah and the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write on it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, for all and for all the house of Israel his companion, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in your hand. And when the children of your people speak unto you, saying, will you not show us what you mean by these? Say unto them, thus saith the Adonai, Elohim, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. And the sticks whereon you write it shall be in thine hand before their eyes, and say unto them, thus saith the Adonai Elohim, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen where they be gone, and will gather them from every side, and bring them into their own land. Now, if the people in Israel are the Jews today, then this book here told a lie, because he said he was going to gather his people from every side, not just out of Europe. And if you check back in history, when Titus invaded Jerusalem, the people that he saved alive, they didn't go into Europe. He sold them to the Ethiopians to work in the salt mines. That's how we got down in Egypt. You might want to do some work on a work up on the university that was set up at Alexandria. You might want to look up the Essenes and see what that was all about. And you'll find out that these was our people trying to preserve these scrolls and so forth, because them Gentiles was coming in, kicking butt and taking names. Verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be over them all. And they shall no more be two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols or with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their Elohim. You can't beat that with a stick. See, all the prophets talked about Israel being gathered out of the land, from the four corners of the earth, and put back in their own land. But see, people don't want to deal with that. People want to deal with what these Gentiles have been teaching them all their lives, that everybody going up to heaven. Well, I tell you what, he told you was an African too. But I tell you what you do, you talk with some of those Africans and ask them about the Falasha, the Bantu, the Lemba, the Hutus, the Ashanti. Ask them about those people, and they will tell you, oh, that's Beta Israel. Right. Everybody, all the nations know who we are but us. Here we over here talking about we African, American, Negro, Gentile, whatever we decide to call ourselves this year. Well, according to the Bible, we are our location and the things that has happened to us. If you read Deuteronomy 28 chapter, you'll find out one thing. The things that has happened to us was already prophesied. Yahweh would take his hands in this Bible here and bring you all the way down through this Bible right over here to America first as slaves and then being captives in this country. But see, folks don't want to deal with that. See, We got Black History Month coming up, and everybody want to know about these folks that came over here in America. See, they give y'all all them educated people. You see, tell y'all got to get a good education, and you get a good education, you get anything you want. No, if you don't own it, you can't get nothing but what them Gentiles give you. And we can look around in our neighborhoods today and see what's happening with our young children. Children going to school, we telling them to get a good education and so forth and so on, but there are no jobs for them. And we gave up the economic base in our neighborhood, so we haven't got any jobs to give them. And I remember when I was a young man, all of our entertainers came in our neighborhood and performed in our neighborhood. So the money stayed at home. Now the money goes downtown, it goes out to Chastain Park, it goes every place but to us. We don't benefit from it at all. Now all the other nations benefit from it. You know why? It's their turn. It's their time. Yahweh gave them a certain amount of years, 2,520 years to rule the earth in the 2nd chapter of Daniel, and they must rule that 2,520 years, and they're right at the tail end of it right now. This can't go on forever. Yahweh set a redemption date for his people, and we just have to wait until that time comes. But the thing of it is, we have to get ourselves together. We have to get ourselves together spiritually, because we worship the gods of the nation. And what our people don't do, we go to a church, okay, it's Baptist. We will not get in the encyclopedia and see who started it. And I bet you if you look up whatever the religion you practice, look it up, and I bet you a Christian religion, and I bet you it was started less than 600 years ago by some European Gentile that was breaking up with another nation. Now that Islam stuff, that stuff didn't come along to the 1300s, and it didn't get in our people till about the middle part of the last century, simply because it should have stayed over there in the Middle East among them Arabs. Abraham sons by his wife Keturah, and the sons of Shem, that's where it should have stayed at, over there with them fanatics. I think we got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you're on there.
Appreciate your teachings also, man. Appreciate you. I've been listening to you for a couple of weeks. I've been trying to do some research on that King Alfred plan.
Yeah.
And I researched Google. I can't find any information on that. Could you help me out with that, please?
Okay, I'll tell you, anybody in there got a copy of that King Alfred plan? Anybody in the control room got a copy of the King Alfred plan? Okay, I'll tell you what you do, brother.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna give you a phone number. And what you do is you call me at this phone number,
yes, sir.
And I'll stop by the church and get your personal information. And then what I'll do is send you a copy of it, and you can get the website off of that copy and go check it out for yourself. Okay?
Okay, appreciate your work, and thank you for your wisdom.
Okay, let me give you this phone number, brother.
Okay.
It's 404-630-0800. That's 404-630-0800. And I'm usually up to 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning studying. So if you have to call late, it doesn't mean it won't disturb me, and we might even get a chance to chat for a little while. But I will, if you call that number. Now this program goes off in about another 10-15 minutes. Give me about 25 minutes and then call that number, and I get your information from you, because I know you don't want to give it on the air.
My name is Rodney. Thank you again.
Okay then.
Okay, bye.
What you say your name was? Missed it. That's all right. I know it.
Okay.
What you say your name was now?
Rodney.
Robbie?
Rodney.
Roger?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll be looking for your call, brother.
Appreciate your wisdom. I look forward to talking to you.
Yeah, so do I. Appreciate you. Yeah, what the brother was talking about is the King Alfred plan. I don't know whether y'all are hip to it or not, but the King Alfred plan came out of the office of the Secretary of the Interior of the United States government, and it includes all of your government, all your law enforcement agencies. And they told you, they plan these military bases they closed up. They say when this economic revolution comes, they're gonna start putting us on those military bases. Didn't they do it to the Japanese back in World War II? Well, we wouldn't have no problem. I don't know whether y'all been going to these gun and knife shows they've been having all out in the countryside and cow pastures and so forth. You might want to go. These folks is getting loaded up for bear. As a matter of fact, just day before yesterday on the History Channel, they showed some places right here in Georgia. They got weapons that they are selling that should be over there in Iraq. See? But they selling them to the public. We aren't buying them. Them Gentiles are buying them. You know why? They weren't ready for us when the civil rights movement came through. But guess what? They're ready for us now. Ask yourself, what do we add to the stock market? We are sharecroppers. We go, we work for massa, we get that money, then we put it in our hand there for a minute and go right back and pay it right back to massa again. A massa's brother, his uncle, or his cousin, or somebody. Everything goes right back. We sharecroppers. I think we got another call on the line. Go ahead, caller, you in there.
Elder?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shalom, my brother.
Shalom.
Listen, I just wanted to bear witness to what you were saying about the religions and different denominations, and that they were started like no more than 500 years ago.
600, yeah.
I was invited to a Baptist church just this past Sunday. So I did some homework. I've been researching it for some time. I just wanted to share this with everybody. The Baptist church really, first of all, you said this a lot on your show, that a lot of these denominations got their origin out of the Protestant movement. Was Martin Luther, right. 15th century monk.
1572,
German,
right.
Nailed his 95 complaints up on the Church of Wittenberg in Germany.
They had it on TV last night.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they had it on TV. They had the whole, man, these Gentiles showing you, look here, we worship Satan. Let me show y'all something.
Yes, sir.
But you know what we watching? BET.
That's right.
Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead with what you're saying, brother.
Yes, sir. You know, I was teaching this to my 9-year-old daughter because I am given the charge to teach her now. And she had many questions, but to get to the point, once Martin Luther nailed his 95 theses onto the Wittenberg Church, that started the Protestant movement. Now, out of the Protestant movement, one of the there were many Catholic churches around in Europe. They began to break away. So then we got the Anglican Church, the Church of England, started by King Henry VIII. Now, Henry VIII had some folks there in England who were upset with the way things were going. So as the settlers moved to the New World, we got the Puritan movement. They came out of the Anglican Church.
Correct.
They were described, if one takes a look, as a militant Christian movement. They were upset with the way that the Church of England was being run. So as the Puritans as they came over to the United States, out of there came the origins of the Baptist Church. We didn't have nothing to do with that until we got out those chains and off the plantation, and they allowed us to start reading and writing. That's the only time we got involved with what we know as Christianity today. I didn't hear a bit of that in that Baptist church. They are truly lost sheep. Thank you, sir. I want to hear your comments.
You're absolutely right, brother. That whole tree, see, Paul told them in Romans 11 chapter, he told them, Gentiles, say, you're a wild olive tree. You've been grafted into this tree here contrary to nature. But don't you boast against those branches. Because if Yahweh didn't spare the natural branches, take heed lest he don't spare you. Well, what did they do? We taught them Judaism. And then when Paul went to Antioch in Syria, the white folks called him and say, they're them Christians. See? They're them Christians. But if you go further in Acts, Paul said, I'm a Jew of Tarsus. Well, I'm quite sure Paul knew whether he was a Jew or a Christian. And they didn't like that new name. But then let's see what happened. Emperor Nero killed Peter. He killed Paul. He exiled John the Revelator to the Isle of Patmos. In 70 AD, Titus came through and destroyed Jerusalem, and they sold the remnant of our people, the Jews, to the Ethiopians to work in the salt mine. And them Gentiles, them Europeans took over, brother, and set them up a religion. And guess what? It's sun worship. Why do you think they set their worship day on Sunday? Their solace, right? Okay, then the next holy day was December 25th, which is the day of the winter solstice. And they're going to tell me this lie, that Christ was born December 25th. According to the Bible, he was born in the summer. Okay, then here they come up with this day with that rabbit in it, Easter, right? What has rabbits and eggs got to do with the Messiah? Their fertility sign. These Gentiles brought all their gods from the past. It started with Constantine. They brought the one that made Christianity legal in the Roman Empire. They brought their gods with them. Why you think people look up in the sky and say, Jupiter, Mars, Venus? Do you know all these are pagan deities that these Gentiles worship? Oh, and when they was in Europe, they was up on Mount Olympus. Then folks got to climb in the mountains, and then they said, well, we got to put our gods someplace else. So they put them all up in the sky, and now here we are walking around calling all on their name, and they show you how the government is tied up with that. They had, in their space program, they had the Apollo program. They had the Gemini program. They had the Saturn program. Plus, they got a woman sitting out in Liberty Pool in New York called Miss Liberty. It's their goddess. That's why they sang that song, My Country Tears of Thee, Sweet Land of Liberty, of thee I sang. Right. And it's the land of the free and home of the brave. You free enough to do anything that you brave enough to do in this country here, brother. 9 times out of 10, you can get away with it if you don't rub somebody's nose or don't make too much money. And like you were saying, brother, when the church was, we got a chart over at on the church on the wall. It got all other branches that they broke off into. After they came out of that Lutheran thing, you went into your Anabaptist, then your Baptist, then your Methodist, then Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, you name it, they got it. If they ain't got it, they're going to make it for you this year. All you got to do is raise sand about it, and somebody will get it together for you. Look at all these hip-hoppers they got around here, all these bodybuilders they got, all on the stage, half showing all of their muscles and everything, talking about their Jesus and everything. Right. Man, they have taken religion to a new level. Look at some of your entertainers. Here they standing up on the stage, half naked, with a cross around their neck. See? At one time, when we was in our land, we seen them Gentiles coming dragging that tree. Brother, we knew one of us was going to be nailed on it. Read about the Appian Way that they built in Rome to commemorate Titus's victory over Jerusalem. You might want to look up the Arc de Triomphe, the Arc of Triumph that they built. You might want to go and read that. They crucified, the Appian Way is 15 miles long. They work a crew of us, and then they cut down a tree, nail us to that tree, and they had a whole 15 miles of us had crucified. And now they're going to tell me, here's some white folks come along many, many years after Christ was resurrected from the dead, but they're going to tell me, we got a nail that come out his hand. Them white folks was killing us all. Them white folks didn't believe it. It was 10 years after Christ was resurrected from the dead before Peter went to the Gentiles. Them Gentiles didn't know too much about Christ. See, Christ came to us. He talked to us. Now all of a sudden, they got a piece of the cross in the Pope's staff. See, they got the spear of Christ. They got about 4 or 5 of them now. Christ never had a spear. See, then they came up with this damn thing, the robe, the shroud of Turin. All Gentiles now. And this brother here was a black brother that they hated, but they going to tell me they went back all them years after the brother had been dead and so forth and so on, and they went to the exact place and got them a piece of the cross. They got them up here. They even found the tomb where he was buried. Oh, he had to be buried right here. This has to be the tomb. Why you weren't there? Your folks wasn't even there. You see, but all it is man's putting his paganism all upon the earth, and this has been going on for hundreds of years, and our people love it so. You know why? We call ourselves Gentiles, don't we? According to Genesis 10, Gentiles are white folks. And I talked to a sister last week, talking about, well, we all Gentiles. That's what our preacher told her. See? That's the one she giving all that money to. Her preacher done told, so you're a white boy. Simply because they got in the dictionary now, Gentile means non-Jew. When I came up, before they changed the dictionaries in 1948, I looked up these words. A whole lot of other brothers and sisters did too. And a Gentile was a Caucasian. That's who they were. But now all of a sudden, black folks walk around talking about they Gentile. But where do y'all get that mess from? Y'all get that mess from them shysters, y'all paying, them pulpit pimps, y'all paying all that money to. I know y'all hate for me to say these kind of things because I know which church a lot of y'all attend, but I really don't care. I really don't care. Get your book. See, this is what I care about. Get your book and come down to 3901A Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia, and we can sit down, and all of us grown, all of us kin each other whether we like it or not. So what we can do, we can sit down and reason together. But see, I know what the problem is. The problem is black folks want to be like white folks. That's why every time they move somewhere, here we come. We want to come over there with you. They moved someplace else. I remember when I came to Georgia, I come down Memorial Drive in Stone Mountain. I didn't stop nowhere until I got to the expressway. You know why? Wasn't nothing up there but the Klan. Now, look like we the Klan up in Stone Mountain and Clarkson and so forth, right? And the police department has declared open war on us. If you don't think so, go to traffic court. Once again, my name is Jacob Ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the Culture Center of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel. We're located at 3901A Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia. We have a Sabbath class at Saturday at 1 p.m. On Sunday morning at 11:30, we have a prophecy class, and on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, there is a history class. What you do is write your questions and so forth down, and we come by, and then we can go in the book and let you read it for yourself. I mean, you got an education. That's one mistake they made. They gave us an education. Read your book. Your fathers wrote it. Peace. Yahweh be with y'all. See you next week. Shalom. We need
something positive.
Disagreeable.
You love me night, I love